Hey guys, we are here with episode number 5 of the Viral Nation. And today we're going to talk about Supercross overview from Indy. We're going to talk with Kenny Bartram. We're going to have our quick hit with Frank Mann. We're going to talk what makes a great goggle and more. So stay tuned to the Viral Nation.
Wake up at 5 a.m. Gotta be at the track at 10. It's time to ride. All of this anticipation to ride in the Viral Nation.
All right, so hey, welcome to episode number 5 of the Viral Nation. We are now up to, I think we're up to like 15 or 16 people who keep watching us, and I want to say thank you. I know that every episode we start out the same way with a thank you, but thank you for tuning in to the Viral Nation. It's a labor of love. Lots of fun as we kind of talk Supercross today. We're going to talk what makes a good goggle. We're going to go through a bunch of different stuff. But before we get there, man, I want to talk briefly about hard riding. And, you know, we saw some pretty fun stuff in the last round of Supercross with Moselman giving a little bit of payback to Jet Lawrence. And you saw Barsha and his Kung Fu action going on in the start of the 450 class. We saw Freezy get ejected, which really wasn't a hard riding issue. It was more just of a crash. But man, you know, hard riding, and I saw some really interesting things on social about poor sportsmanship and people not liking to lose, and they need to handle it better. You know, I don't know. I'm assuming that most people that have ridden motorcycles have maybe raced a little bit in their lives, maybe not. But for me, I started racing at the age of 13 years old, so I was a little older. But when I started racing, my dad was funny, and he used to always tell me that second place was the first loser. And, you know, it was kind of a joke as I was growing up, but it was true, right? When I wanted to win all the time, and I didn't win every single race, by far, not even close to that. But I did my fair share of winning, and I hated to lose. And when I was younger, I had a real hard time with losing at first. And then I got to the point where I could handle a little bit because I felt like I was moving my way up all the time. And then when I became a pro and I had some really early success, losing became really difficult again. And, you know, as you grow, there's different ways of handling it. You know, Christian Craig right now, he is not dealing with the loss so much right now really well because he wants to win that championship. And that's so important to him. Getting podiums, he's done that. Being on the box every round, he's done that. Being in the fight for the championship, that's where he wants to be. And I know there's a lot of guys out there like, man, he's such a poor sport about it. He's just super focused. Now, this is my own opinion. I really don't have a problem with the way Christian is kind of handling it right now. He wants to win a championship. He feels that this ride this year is either going to make or break him. If he wins a championship, then he's going to go on to be a 450 rider and get a good contract and get on the right team with the right equipment and hopefully be ready to go out and do that next step and be a competitor at the top level, you know, vying for championships. That's what he wants. And so to see him kind of fighting back and forth and not being super gracious on the podium when he's done, man, I really don't feel bad for him at that point. You know, then in contrast, look at Kenny. You know, Kenny's always a very gracious loser. And he's always, other than Wilson getting in his way, right? But for the most part, he's a pretty gracious loser and always shakes everyone's hand. And that's fine and dandy. But man, I'm telling you, that guy needs to start punting people off the track. He needs to take this championship, grab it by the cojones, and go all the way to the finish with it, right? And the only way he's going to do that is being a little more aggressive. He needs to have a little bit more Christian Craig in him than Kenny Bartram, Kenny Roczen. All right, so that's my thoughts on it. That's kind of how I look at it. Right, wrong, or indifferent. You know, it is how it is, and let's just hope that we see some good hard racing, clean racing. Trust me, I don't want to see T-bones. And I've said that before. T-boning somebody, that's not cool, right? That's just cheating, right? And it's just not the way that I like to see racing. But good hard passing, bumping, grinding, forcing guys out of their lines. Yeah, that's all good stuff. I think that's super cool. Hey, don't forget that you can get free shipping on anything over $100. All right, coming up next is our Instagram photo of the week. Right here, we've got Emiliano Ramirez 923. He is a hard rider that rides out of our Mexico distributor and has been riding on Team Mexico down there. Has been doing an outstanding job of supporting the brand, helping grow our Mexican distributors' business. And we want to thank you for all of your hard work. We do appreciate it. Let's talk Supercross. Supercross from Indy. We briefly touched on it, but man, let's start with the 250 class. And wow, I mean, Jet Lawrence, that guy could not have tried any harder to not get himself a good top finish. Started in a bad start, ended up on the ground, gets himself up, works his way through traffic, and then gets collected. Him and Craig right there, literally 10 feet from the finish line. I've been there. I had an LCQ qualifier years ago at, I forget, it was Anaheim 1, 1990. I'd gone down in the first corner of the LCQ, had gotten up, and then gone all the way through traffic. And I caught up to second place. I didn't have to beat him to get the finish. And it was Chris Neal, matter of fact. And we were coming through the whoop section right before the finish line. Chris kind of saw me coming, grabbed a handful, got a little whiskey throttled. We both hit, and he took us out, and we literally slid to the base of the finish line jump. And neither of us qualified. And it is frustrating as all get out to be that close to finishing the race and then not having the results that you want. So I totally feel for both Lawrence and Craig, because that was just a bum deal. But overall, it was some great rides. Really bummed about Max Voland. Kid was on fire for his rookie year with some great finishes. The kid was just putting it down. Goes down in qualifying, hurts his leg in his hip. From what I gather, it was a dislocated hip. Hope to see him back before the end of the series. Probably a little doubtful. Joe Shimoda, that kid got his podium, and funny, I listened to him on the stand, and he basically was like, "Well, I didn't earn this." The bottom line is you got to get your first podium out of the way, no matter how you get there. And for him, I thought it was classic, because he was in the right spot at the right time. And sometimes in racing, it's better to be lucky than good. And for Joe, he was good and lucky, which got him on the box, which is pretty cool. So Moselman, of course, again, that kid had a great ride going, and he battled. And again, same thing, luck versus talent sometimes. Obviously, Moselman's got great talent. He was in the right spot at the right time and ended up getting that second place finish. And then, of course, Colt Nichols, I mean, just absolutely was flying. Christian tried everything he could to stay with him, and he just crept away lap after lap. From the qualifying race to the main event, he just absolutely threw it down, and it was super cool to watch. And so again, Thomas Doe right in there again. Fleming rode really good. There's a bunch of guys in that top 10 that really have done well. My Moto Dream 360 MX Fantasy League, man. I was actually a team manager. I had, of course, our results weren't the greatest, but you'd think that I could pick a team and put it in my fantasy league and actually be good at it. And I just can't seem to ever get that going. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the 450 class here in a second. So let's talk 450s. I mean, holy cow. Again, as I said in the beginning of the season, I wasn't as super excited about the 250 class. And I think the 250 class is a little more predictable than the 450 class. But with that being said, the 450 class, they kind of shuffled to where you thought they were going to shuffle. But Roczen, man, we'll start with the winner this time. Roczen, just a great race, all qualifiers through his heat races to the main event, just absolutely rode an amazing race. And he pushed really hard. He really, obviously Tomac got out front, had the problems, which was kind of typical Tomac. I hate to say that. But but Roczen jumped on it, even made a mistake, and still was able to recapitalize. He just was the fastest guy that night, and that was really good to see. As I said at the beginning of my very first podcast, I'm a real big fan of Barcia and the gas thing, even though I'm a Cowie guy myself. I just like seeing that happen. He had another night that probably wasn't the best for him, but it was definitely cool to watch Roczen make his way to the front, put that win in his under his belt. Tomac rode an amazing race, battling up front, falling back, battling back up front. Didn't quite have the speed that he needed. He made that last lap charge like he always does. He just made it too late. And so then you get down back, you start dropping back down to Cooper Webb, who worked his way up. Webb put in a heck of a ride. And then Osborne. I mean, of everybody on the track and all the guys that were out there, we talk about how deep the field is all the time. And Osborne got stuck in the gate and then worked his way from 22nd place up into 4th place. The guy was on rails, right? And just made, he could have easily made on the box. He just could have easily been on the box. I think he ran out a little bit of energy having to work so hard in the beginning. But man, what just an incredible race the entire series has actually been this year. So really excited for, and I keep saying really excited because it's been quite a few years that I've been this excited about Supercross and the different players that are in there. I also want to talk a little bit about the coverage. I don't know if you guys have watched the coverage. So here's how I consume Supercross nowadays. And I kind of have for quite a long time, probably even back before I started doing the Supercross, running the Barn Pros team. I like watching the live timing as it goes on. It gives me kind of an idea of what's happening. I watch the live coverage on the Peacock network, which I do through my phone or through one of my apps on my computer. And then I watched the actual race thing that night live through Peacock as well. And I was doing the NBC Sports Gold before that. So I've been watching it live for quite a while. But man, there's so many stories that they miss. There are so many riders that they could focus on and during the day when they have, especially during the qualifying, when because you have the B qualifiers that are out there and you have the A qualifiers that are out there and you have guys that are running between 10th and 15th place that are very interesting riders. You have privateers, you have smaller teams, you have there's just so much that they miss. And I know that they're limited on time, but when they're doing so much live coverage now and they go to these kind of I don't know, stories or this kind of stuff where they're just talking, right? They should really be doing interviews of those riders and building up a bigger fan base so that people are paying more attention to the guys that are down in the rankings a little bit, especially during like fantasy stuff. You're watching guys like I bring up Thomas Doe almost every week because he's one of the guys that I kind of have on my fantasy league. You bring up guys like Carnow, who used to be a Viral Brand rider, who's riding for another team now, and I still watch Carnow. I've watched where he's now making himself a permanent main event guy, where he used to battle all the way on the edge of being in the main event. He's now in there every single weekend, and it's just really cool to watch. So let's take the time though, and that was Supercross, and I appreciate you guys talking Supercross. I really hope you guys would subscribe to our channel. If you guys have any questions, take the time to ask them below, and I can answer them on the next episode of whatever we're watching. I've got a lot of experience in Supercross, been around for quite a long time, have been in the industry a while, and would love to hear a little more. Hey, so coming up next, we're going to go meet with Kenny Bartram and Cowboy Kenny. We'll hear a little bit about about his Supercross racing days, a little bit about how he got into freestyle, about his movie career, and so much more. Let's go check out Kenny Bartram. because we are here today with Kenny, the Cowboy Bartram. Kenny, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Hey, we're doing really good, really good. So, in all fairness, I have to kind of give a little forewarning, and that's not the right word. A little disclaimer. Kenny actually works for Viral Brand, so he came to work for us. What, about a year and a half ago now?
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Oh, yeah, it is almost been 2 years, huh? Yeah. And so not only does Kenny do the freestyle stuff, he also is our number one sales guy, believe it or not. He's been killing it. So wanted to have Kenny on today, talk a little bit about Viral Brand, talk a little bit about, kind of what do you have going on? We know that you've been, you raced Supercross way back when. You've been doing the freestyle thing forever. What do you got going on right now?
Man, I'm into a little bit of everything. Still doing the freestyle. I run a company called Steel Rodeo Tour, and we put on freestyle shows, arena crosses, rodeos, car races, monster trucks, bike rallies, whatever. We jump pretty much everywhere. I do stunts in the movie industry. That's kind of my primary focus is trying to really get into doing full-time stunts. But I do a lot right now. I tinker with woodworking. I've got a Facebook page, DKB Customs. Do a lot of like farmhouse furniture and small trinkety type stuff.
Very cool.
I got my real estate license in Oklahoma and Louisiana. So yeah, I'm just kind of doing a little bit of everything, and then like you said, being a sales rep for Viral Brand. So
man, you're a busy guy.
Yes, I am.
So tell us a little bit about. So let's step back a little bit and let's talk about your Supercross days. So you raced Supercross. What years did you race Supercross?
My first Supercross was Atlanta in 1996.
Okay.
And then I raced up. 2000 was really my transition year when I started. I did about half and half freestyle and Supercross. But the last Supercross I rode was 2005 in Houston.
Okay, and you rode for Guy's team. That's how we kind of met the first time, was through Guy Cooper's team, correct?
Yeah, Guy Cooper. For a lot of you that don't know, Guy's my uncle. And he had a regional team he was actually a regional sales rep for KTM, and he started a team, and we went out and made a West Coast effort for the 125 class. That was in 1999. And so, yeah, that was how I got started with KTM, was through my uncle Guy.
Ah, very cool. Now you had John Hedden on that team as well, correct?
Yeah. Jeff and John Hedden, and then Corey Francis was our fourth guy.
That's right. I actually ran into John Hedden. It's got to be 10 years ago now, but he was actually doing this monster truck arena cross type show. He was actually running it for these guys. And
really?
Yeah, he and I were sitting talking one day, and he looks at me and goes, God, you look really familiar. Because for the guys that don't know, back then I was working for HRP Sports, which was a chest protector manufacturer, and we sponsored Kenny's team and Guy's team back there. And so I knew John Hedden a little bit. Got to know you a little bit, and then fast forward, now Kenny's working for us and for Viral Brand and all that fun stuff. Cool stuff. What made you get into freestyle? That's kind of a jump from Supercross is cool, but what made you get into going upside down?
It was more fun, and I made more money. the long and short of it. No, I was doing halftime jump contests at the arena crosses in the late 90s, just for a little extra traveling money. And then in 1998, when freestyle really became a standalone sport, they actually, the people that put on the first contest had filmed Steel Roots, the old Jeremy McGrath movie, and they came back to Stillwater and filmed with my uncle Guy. So I had met them, and they knew who I was. And they actually sent, it was long enough ago, it was a VHS tape. They sent a VHS tape of a few people doing tricks, and it was the invite to those first few contests. And I watched the video. I'm like, man, this is crazy. There's no way I can do this stuff. And I actually turned it down. I told them I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
And luckily, longtime friend Travis Pastrana, he would come before big events like Ponca City National or the RM Cup or whatever. He would usually come to that area and train for a couple of weeks and get acclimated to the weather and stuff. So he came back to my uncle Guy's and was riding for about 2 weeks. He taught me how to do a heel clicker and talked me into going to that first event. And so, I blew up my bike halfway through my run, seized the motor on it, and I got 12th place. I still made more money than I ever had for winning a race. And I had a blast. You know, it was playwriting for 2 or 3 minutes at a time. So
Right.
I was like, man, I'm hooked on this. So luckily I stuck with it because I wasn't a very good racer.
Yeah, it's funny. I met Travis's mom and dad in Tacoma at when that first remember that first year they did all that the arena or the freestyle competitions.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. It was
it
October of '98 at the Tacoma Dome.
Yeah, so I was sitting with him and his parents just by happenstance. He was I think he was like 14 at the time, and he ended up winning the contest. And I ended up having to give Seth Enslow a ride around town. That was a disaster, by the way. We won't get into that. but it was. I can
imagine.
Yeah, it was very interesting, to say the least. And but yeah, I mean, watching that whole thing was pretty cool. I mean, I was an old motocross guy myself, so by that time, doing freestyle stuff to me it was kind of cool. Like I got into the point where I was doing a couple no-hander lander stuff. And I just thought, you know what? And then watching you guys done transition, you've been you've kind of been at the forefront of freestyle. So, I saw you in Utah a couple of years ago. You got the backflip down. You do all that stuff. How was it to transition and continue to grow your tricks, especially when they got more and more crazy?
Luckily, like you said, I've been around since the beginning. I feel really bad for the new kids that are getting into it today. The trick level that's already there is so high. Those kids really have to push themselves to be competitive. Where it didn't feel like we were really pushing it that hard at the time. It's been quite the lengthy process. I mean, that was 1998 was that first one. But also until the backflip, most of the stuff they were all upright tricks, and it was, a one-hander with your left hand and a one-hander with your right hand were two different tricks back then,
Okay.
So I mean, it wasn't really that crazy and that insane when you really broke it down. But obviously as time has progressed and, with rock solids and stuff like that, where you are letting go of the bike completely and different variations of stuff, it definitely got technical, but, until the backflip came out, I never really felt like we were, pushing the envelope of what could be done.
Yeah. You watch Carey Hart when he did his first backflip, and as much as he got around, it wasn't the prettiest looking trick, and you watch the guys today, obviously Travis double backflip, set the standard there, but you watch the guys today and like watching you in Utah, right? It's such an effortless deal. And, you and Anthony, Murray, both Viral Brand guys, you guys were, doing little backflips with no problem. And I know Anthony even has the front flip down as well. Yep. I mean, how does someone, and I'm sure there's lots of kids out there that watch that have probably tried a backflip either in the foam pit at a bicycle somewhere, but how did you work your way up to doing that? First to do the backflip, and then second to actually do it to dirt? Because doing it to a foam pit and doing it to dirt's got to be two different things.
Right. I actually learned flips at Travis's house in June of '02, which was before there were any big foam pits for dirt bikes. We had a foam pit for bicycles, and I actually learned mine the same day Travis did. We'd watched the video of Metzger. He did like 30 in a row out in the desert, and went, all right, this is no longer the unicorn trick. Like, we're going to have to learn this. So
yeah,
we went through a progression. I did a BMX bike, a bicycle into the foam pit, and then a downhill mountain bike, and then an XR70, and then a little Suzuki 70cc quad, all into the foam pit. And every time you add weight or wheelbase, you get on it and you're like, man, this is not gonna. And Paul coming in. This is not gonna come around. And you do the same thing, and sure enough, it'll backflip just like normal. And then we took the XR70 to dirt, and then the 70cc quad to a little dirt step up. And then it was finally time for the big bike to the step up. It was on a lot of the Global Addiction, and I think Nitro Circus 1 had a bunch of footage from that original step up.
Oh, is that the one they cut into a bark pit? Like into bark or sand or something?
Yeah, it's kind of in a hillside, and they cut in, just made a real steep step up. And then they put mulch on the landing, so it was a little bit softer. And just the whole idea of a step up, you jump up, 15 or 20 feet, you don't really have any fall time. So you may only be falling 4 or 5 feet. So There was definitely still some scraped elbows and some stiff necks the day after trying them on that, but it was pretty much say your prayers and go for it at that point.
Right on. So moving forward, so now you've kind of been doing this the freestyle thing for a long time. You started your own. It's called the Steel Rodeo Tour. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So you've been doing that. And how long have you been doing that for?
Man, I started Steel Rodeo Tour back in 2011. I jumped. I did the half times at the Supercrosses in 2009 and 2010.
Okay.
Those weren't my company, but doing intermission stuff, it took us forever to set up. It would be, 12 to 15 minutes to set up. We'd jump for about 5, and then it was 10 minutes to tear it down. And I did a rodeo in Perry, Oklahoma. It was kind of a local rodeo, but I just had a blast. The rodeo world, everybody's so genuine and so nice, and they had never seen freestyle motocross. It was like the biggest thing ever, and it was a local show. It was about 30 minutes from my house, and I had a blast. I'm like, all right, this is what I need to be doing. And so I had a ramp built that's all hydraulic. I can set it up in about a minute and a half.
Oh wow!
Just me pulling levers, and so it sets up quick.
That's the one that you had in Utah. You pull with your truck.
Yep, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So spent a pretty good penny building that ramp, but it's definitely, we've used it. I've probably done 400 or 500 shows in the last 10 years with it. So.
Oh wow. Very cool.
Yeah, and we came up with the name Steel Rodeo Tour. Even though we do other stuff, we don't just jump at rodeos. With my nickname, the Cowboy Kenny, it just fit. It was a good name.
Oh, good. So let's talk a little bit about your movie stuff. I mean, how did you get into doing the movie industry stuff? I mean, that's always been something that I think is intriguing. And we actually had a guy, Scott Spiewak, that worked for us for a little while last year, that actually had done some 1980s movies here in Seattle, where they ran through some warehouses and jumped through a wall, and it was pretty funny. I forget the name of the movie now, but he showed me all the scenes he was in. So how did you get into the movie thing?
It's been a long road as well. 2004, I got invited to do Fantastic Four. We shot it up in Canada, and man, I had an absolute blast. That was probably one of the funnest film sets or times I've had on my dirt bike. And I actually wanted to get into doing stunts back then, but I was still in contest mode, riding and training and whatnot. And the film world is a big networking thing. It's all about who you know and being friends with somebody and this and that. So I just didn't have time to go, put my name out there in the stunt world. And then about 2014, 2015, I'm like, all right, I'm getting close to 40 years old at that point, and what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And I went, man, back in 2004, stunts was a big thing that I wanted to pursue, and now that I'm not doing contests, maybe this is the time. So New Orleans has a big film industry, and again, they're big on the locals, and so.
Okay.
Actually, Regis Harrington, Andy Harrington, used to write a column for Racer X.
Oh, no,
and he was a head judge at X Games for a long time.
Okay.
He's big, very big, very heavily involved in the stunt world. And he's like, man, New Orleans is the place to be. You just need to move down here. So we uprooted the family and moved down here in January of 15, and I've been here ever since.
Oh, wow. Oh, very cool. I knew you were you're Louisiana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
New Orleans. Yeah.
New Orleans. So I knew you were down there, but I didn't realize that you'd moved down there so long ago. Ah, very cool.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit. So on the movie side, what movies have you done so far?
I've actually got about 35 credits to my name now,
Wow.
which is pretty amazing for somebody in 5 or 6 years in. But Logan, the Wolverine movie, Jumanji, and Jack Reacher are probably the 3 biggest that I've done.
Oh.
Been on several episodes of NCIS New Orleans, Claws, Preacher, stuff like that.
Oh, I like Preacher. That's a good TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, as a stuntman, you don't necessarily want to be seen.
Right.
Especially in a TV series, if they see your face, it's hard for you to come back and play another bad guy next week when they killed you the week before. So
Right.
So a lot of the stuff, even even me knowing exactly where I am, I have to pause it, frame by frame. Oh, yeah, that's me over there.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff, like Jack Reacher, you can actually see my face in that one. And,
Oh, wow.
Logan and Jumanji were both dirt bike stuff. Most of the other things I've done has been either car driving or fighting, getting shot, things like that. Where
Oh, really? Okay, so you're not just doing motorcycle stunts. You're doing all stunts.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay, I did not know that. Hey, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
I know that Ricky Johnson, the old Supercross champ, he trains Navy SEALs or I should say Special Forces, right? How to drive and do this kind of stuff. So does Steve Lamson. And I'm surprised, I know a lot of motocross guys have gone that way. You've gone the way of going into the movie industry, which I think is super cool and obviously a lot of fun. There's got to be some money in it.
I tried the 4-wheel route for a while. I actually raced a few NASCAR K&N West Series races.
Oh, wow.
I did 3 years of Rally America. Actually won a couple of championships and Rookie of the Year in Rally America Series. So I did dabble in 4 wheels and I love it. It's wheels and a motor. You can't really go wrong. But like they say, the quickest way to make $1 million in 4 wheels is to start with 2 million. So I quickly learned that I wasn't born rich. I need to go find work elsewhere.
Yeah. I got into 4 wheels myself for a little bit. I raced shifter carts professionally for about 2 years. And the problem that, shifters are fun except for the fact that I'm a motocross guy, right? So I go out and I want to go out and when in practice session, I want to go put in 30 minutes in practice, except for all the shifter guys would run 2 laps and they work on their carts for 10 minutes. Then they go 2 laps and then work on their carts for 2 minutes. And I burned through 2 sets of tires. It wasn't quite the same. It wasn't quite the same. Plus being super aggressive in open wheel racing isn't really what they like. It doesn't endear you.
It's kind of frowned upon.
Yeah, they don't like that. It's funny. I got this. So in shifter car racing, all the cars would swing out, right, for a corner.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, holy crap, they all moved out of my way. And I just dove straight to the apex of the corner, right? And I just stopped the entire line of traffic. I must have passed like 6 guys. And I thought that was the greatest thing. I ended up finishing like second in my first race. And then I got pulled over by the track judge and told me I couldn't race like that. And I was like, what are you talking about? I just passed all these guys.
Yeah, they left the door open. It wasn't my fault.
They moved right out of the way. Car
That's
people.
Awesome.
What do you do with car people, right?
That's right.
So now we're talking. So let's talk a little about Viral Brand. I mean, obviously you came to work for us. We've been super excited to have you on board. But kind of how did I know it took a little bit convincing on my part to get you to come work for us, but how's that been for you? Kind of getting into the motorcycle, the part side or the industry side versus just being a rider and a freestyle guy.
It's been a transition for sure. Like you said, I've always been a rider, but as a professional rider, you don't really worry too much about the industry side of things. And as long as my sponsor is still doing all right and giving me product or money or whatever, okay, it's all good. But now learning the business side of things and the world economy and just things like that, it's tough. I'm not the one running the retail store, so I'm not too worried about that sort of stuff. But at the same time, I talk to them and I learn, and it's been cool. I've met a lot of new people. Luckily they knew who I was, so it was a fairly easy transition to walk into the store and, hey, I'm Kenny Bartram. I'm your new Viral sales rep. And they don't go, who? What company? What? Who are you with? But they actually know who I am, and so it's easy to strike up a conversation. But at the end of the day, we're all dirt bikers. We're all dirt bike fans, and so you got something in common with all the parts managers and all the store owners and stuff like that. So it's been fun.
Awesome. And last thing we'll talk about is you've been doing these arena cross. You said you did. I forget the name of the arena cross series you did. You didn't do Hoosier. You did the Mid-South. Is that correct?
Mid-South arena cross. Yep.
Yeah. How's the turnout been in 2020 and 2021 for those events?
It's actually been good. I bounced over and did a kicker arena cross that was local to Oklahoma as well, in Guthrie. But then the Mid-South series, they actually had a record rider turnout at their first round in Gonzales. I think they had almost 500 riders at that one. Then I did Hattiesburg and Batesville, Mississippi with Matt Byton, and both of those had almost 300 riders. So
Wow, big turnout.
really good rider turnout. The Mid-South Series, they kind of cater more towards the amateurs, so they don't necessarily pack the house with spectators, but they still had a decent crowd turnout. But rider-wise, it's been great.
Awesome. So for everybody else, we want to thank Kenny for coming on board today and doing the interview. How can guys find out more about Kenny? How can they follow you, find you, that kind of stuff?
All my social media is Cowboy Kenny 690. So Facebook, Instagram, all that. Unfortunately, I'm just me with my phone. I don't usually take a lot of photos, so probably most of the photos are of my kids playing sports and stuff like that. But every now and then, if fans tag me in a video or something, I'll post that. But I try to keep it, motorcycle related.
Ah, very cool. And where is the Steel Rodeo Tour going next? Where can if guys are out in the north or the south somewhere, where can they find you?
Man, we're all over. The next two Mid-South Arena crosses are going to be in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Lufkin, Texas is a rodeo in April. There's two in Texas, Brownwood and Mount Pleasant in June. July, we're doing South Dakota, one in Utah, and then I think an 8-day event in Oklahoma, Butler, Alabama. So yeah, we're all over the place.
So you'll be around.
I need to put our schedule up. I actually have a Facebook page for Steel Rodeo Tour as well, and I need to get that schedule put up. So check that. Give me a week or two. I'm not real on top of it, but give me a week or two, and I'll try to get that.
We'll try to find something and throw it up as well. Hey Kenny, thanks a lot, man. We really appreciate you being on today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Hey Kenny, thanks a lot, man. We really appreciate you being on the show today, talking about your history. It was great to hear from you. And also, it's awesome to have you as part of the company and helping our dealers all across the Viral Nation. So thanks, Kenny. We really appreciate it. All right, so we watched Indy last night. It is Wednesday morning, and the fallout from Supercross last night is pretty dramatic. So let's go through the 250 class real quick. And I think I've talked to you guys before. I know I have said that I wasn't super excited about the 250 class. But, man, it's a depleted field. Let's just say that. But the drama in that class has been pretty awesome this year. So, qualifying was right kind of where you expected it. And then, of course, you get to see Lawrence just unload. Take the handlebars to the face, and he smacks his head on the ground, bloodies himself up. I mean, gets up and heads out for the qualifiers. But still in qualifying, you kind of saw what you expected. Olenberg was fast. You saw Craig obviously being super fast. Nichols was just flying. Moselman going well. Shimoda, kind of your normal players. But, there's a huge standout in qualifying yesterday. And let me pull up my qualifying times here. One, qualifying times are still just ridiculous, right? So you're talking about 46.62 for Nichols. Lawrence was running 46.85. Moselman a 47.03. Just tenths of seconds in the top three. And then Craig right there in the same thing. Craig running a 47.08. So, again, tenths of seconds in those top four. But, a standout was our Oregon rider, Max Miller. Now, granted, he got a good track. The track was clean. But that kid threw down some really good laps in qualifying yesterday and put himself in seventh overall going into the heat races that night. So, again, those are big boy numbers when you see someone going that fast in qualifying. Now, I'm not a fan of qualifying. I really enjoyed when I raced Supercross. I really enjoyed, the qualifying races. Like you had to race your way in. I don't know how well I would have done with the qualifying deal. I know that I was pretty quick. I was always one of the first guys on the track. I like to jump everything right out of the box. It was always great to be able to do press day. I did press day for the entire 89 season, basically, other than like one round. I ran top 10 for the entire season.
and so you got a lot of opportunity to do the press day stuff, which gives you a huge advantage on practice day, because when practice comes up and you get to go out and hit the track, you're one of the first guys to jump stuff, and it just psychologically plays well with you as a rider. But it also kind of messes with your competition a little bit. If you're the first guy to start jumping stuff and they're having to worry about it, you're already knocking it off lap 1 or 2 of qualifying. Makes a really big difference. But Thomas Doe, another great qualifying session. Jeremy Hand, another great qualifying session. Logan Carnow, Thermal Hurlin, Osby was right in there again. Get into the qualifiers, and Jet Lawrence was, he's just blazing fast. That kid, when he is on, that kid is poetry to watch ride a motorcycle. He really is. It's effortless. He doesn't look like he's trying hard. The bike works. He's in the perfect position. But then again, you have the times when he comes apart. And last night, that kid hit the ground so hard. I was texting back and forth and doing some Instagram stuff. And I said, there's no way that kid passed concussion protocol to make it to the line for LCQ, but yet he was there. And he went out and rode, and obviously by watching him in the LCQ, he was hurting. He was hurting good. And I don't mean good, like it was a lot of pain. And he rode through it, qualified, that wasn't a problem. But, him going to the start line, obviously they made the decision to pull out the last minute. And that's when things get really interesting. So the rule in the AMA is pretty simple. You go out to your qualifiers and you qualify. And then if you miss qualifying, if you're the 5th guy in the LCQ, then you're the next guy up. So if someone crashes during the day and can't make the main event, then the next guy in line in the LCQ in the 5th place, he's the guy that goes to the gate next. Somehow, Olenberg, who crashed his brains out in qualifying, his bike motor locked up, then turns around and goes to the LCQ, where they won't let him race the LCQ for whatever reason. Supposedly the frame numbers didn't match or something along those lines. And then Olenberg ends up in the main event when Jet pulls out. Now, he didn't even ride the LCQ. So how do you go from not riding the LCQ to the main event? That's a question that I think you're going to see a lot of internet people wanting to know the answers to. I'm sure the AMA will come up with an answer. And I attribute this quote to my dad. When we were racing Supercross back in the late 80s, early 90s, my dad, there was a bunch of stuff going on back then with hay bale covers and a bunch of stuff. And my dad made a quote one day in one of the riders' meetings that the only thing consistent about the AMA is their inconsistency. And they kind of keep going on that same path each and every weekend. And then, of course, we'll get to the main event in the 450 class here in a minute. And then main event-wise, in the 250 class, man, I thought it was entertaining. Those guys were ripping. Nichols he's the guy. I mean, as much as I want to see Christian Craig be the champion, because I like Christian and I like that story. Nichols is on fire. He is the man to beat, and Christian did everything he could to keep him close, and he did keep him close, but he wasn't able to put any pressure on him. So Christian, great ride by Christian. Moselman really got the short end of the stick. He had a great ride going and was putting down some great laps. Unfortunately, Max Miller from Oregon, who was having a great night, ended up crashing pretty hard and happened to crash right in front of Moselman. Moselman hit him and obviously derailed him, and he fell back into 3rd place. So, tough break for Miller, by the way, because that kid really had a kind of a breakout ride going, I thought. The next thing to look at is, Joe Shimoda. If you guys watched the start, Shimoda was on the ground at the start of that moto main event. And that kid is relentless. He comes through traffic like Osborne. He is the kid's really good. I mean, he really is good. That also leads us to the next thing, which is the East Coast depth. And this is nothing against the East Coast guys. It's pretty weak right now. There's a lot of guys missing from that class. Obviously, Lawrence is out. You got Hampshire out. You've got a number of Faulkner out. You got a number of guys that have been hurt that aren't in the series right now. And it really showed last night. nothing against those guys that are in the main event because all those guys were hauling ass. But the guys that were winning were really hauling ass. When you lap up to 5th place, Jeremy Hand and Grant Harlan were the last 2 guys to get lapped, and they were running in 5th and 6th place. That is kind of that's a tough one. Hey, I know. I mean, I got lapped at Seattle one year, and I was running in 9th place. And, it is what it is. Sometimes sometimes the tracks lend it. Sometimes you're battling, and, the guys up front are just going that much faster, and that does happen. So, let's switch gears to the 450 class. Well, before I do that, let me make sure I missed anything. Oh, LCQ, Bobby Piazza is the guy that got the shaft the most out of everybody last night, and that was because he was in 5th place in the LCQ and should have been on the starting line for the main event. So, unfortunately for Bobby Piazza, that was kind of a bum deal. I think I covered pretty much everything. Miller was 7th fastest. All right, so let's move on to the 450 class. So 450 class, Roxon is on fire, and right now he is basically thrown down the gauntlet that he is the guy to beat for the championship. And reminiscent of the year that he got hurt when he came out on fire, Roxon just wants this. And I said earlier in this podcast, talking about Indy 1, that he needs a little more fire. And you know what? You saw it last night. He wasn't letting anybody hold him back moving forward going into the main event. He got a good start, got right around Bam Bam, and then he just made that pass stick. And, Barcia did a great job of keeping him close, but Roxon is on Roxon right now. He is definitely the man to beat. What else here? We got Plessinger. Yeah, hey, Plessinger, man, honestly, I like him a lot. I got a chance to know him a little bit through the time when I was running the Barn Pros Home Depot team. And great story. Chris Aldridge was racing for us back in 17, and we were in Texas for an autograph session, and the line went out the door and around the building. And, the riders are scheduled to be there for 1 hour. And then at the end of 1 hour, they leave. And when I mean they leave, 1 hour and they are gone. They don't wait around. If there's somebody in line, they don't sign any more autographs. They throw, hey, thanks a lot, and they leave. And this line you couldn't even see the end of it when the 1 hour came up. And everybody left, except for Chris Aldridge and Plessinger. And they sat there for another 40 minutes signing autographs for these riders and these fans. And they didn't have to do that. Their contracts don't make them have to stay and sign autographs. And Aaron was, I believe that was the year that he won the Supercross championship, and he class act kid. So good to see him really start to put himself where he should be in that 450 class after a really rough start in the 450 class. It's really cool to see. Freeze, man, that guy. Most everybody wishes they could start like Freeze, right? But that guy needs to pick the pace up just a little bit. And I like Vince. I've met Vince a few times. I think he's a pretty okay guy. But man, he was really holding traffic up in that main event until he went down. Great battle, I said, between Barcia and Tomac. Tomac really put a good ride in, but Tomac or Barcia just did everything he could to hold him off. I thought it was great. As I said, Bam Bam was solid. Cooper, he's like a tank, right? He just kind of gets it done each and every weekend. I was really bummed out for Brayton. Brayton had this amazing battle going on with Osborne the entire moto. I mean, there was lap after lap after lap of those two guys going at it. And then at the end, Osborne gets around him. And then I honestly didn't see what happened to Brayton. And I'm sure someone in the comments could tell me what happened to him. But he went down or had a mechanical or whatever happened to Brayton, ended up finishing last for the night, which was too bad because he had a great ride going on. The 450 class is not disappointed this year at all. It's only going to get better. And honestly, we haven't had a lot of attrition. Unfortunately, obviously Anderson was out with a finger last night. But other than that, we haven't had a lot of the main players go down or get hurt. And that's a pretty cool thing, So that's it for Indy. Indy 2 in the books. Next round will be Indy 3 on Saturday, and we'll talk about that next week.
So now let's talk about what makes a good goggle. Now, in the last couple of years, we've really seen a push by the manufacturers to create the CNC machine lenses, or a hard plastic lens that's supposed to help you protect against harder roost off of a 450. Now, first off, I want to say that's eye protection is very important, and that's why we encourage everybody to wear goggles all the time. And I've told my story before about how I became kind of a goggle guy from my dad, and how I couldn't race if I took my goggles off. I had to actually pull off the track. He always told me I could race another race, but I could never get another eye. When you look at a great goggle, what are you looking for? You want it to fit your budget, you want it to fit your face, you want it to fit your helmet, and you want it to be something that's durable and lasts a long time. The Viral brand goggles, all of them, come with the high impact Lexan lens. They all come with our soft flex frame and our nice curve that actually works in the face. They all come with a 50 millimeter strap, right? Can't even do it. There we go. 50 millimeter strap, and they come with outriggers. All the features that you want in a high-end goggle, but at a price that is reasonable. $75.99 for our kit, our high-end kit. $59.99 for our high-end goggle without the kit. $39.99 for our Comp Series goggle. And then $29.99 for our UTV goggle. What makes a really good goggle is high quality, great protection at a reasonable price, right? And durability. And you get all of that with Viral brand. So that's our take on that. Let's talk about the goggle of the week. Our goggle of the week is our pink Comp Series goggle. This goggle is $39.99, as I had just said. Comes with 2 layers of foam, soft flex frame, high impact Lexan lens, smoked. It comes with a 1 run of non-slip, sublimated strap, all for $39.99, $39.99, and available at a dealer near you, or you can order it at shop.theviralbrand.com. Coming up next, we're going to go talk with Frank Mann. He's our quick hit for today.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for having me on. So how long have I been racing? Well, I've been racing probably in my adult life, probably 20, 25 years now. Let's see, I'm 52, so probably around about the time I was 29 or 30 years old, I got into back riding again. Me and my brother, I bought a CR250 and got him an RM125, and we started riding a little moto. And then next thing you know, I was racing enduros and woods, and then back to moto and to some desert and everything else. It's been a fun run, but probably 20, 25 years now in my adult life. So my favorite local pro, well, this is kind of a good one. It's kind of two. I run the number 117. I've been running for a long, long time. So for those of you guys moto heads, you probably are thinking Ezra Lusk. Well, you'd probably be right. Ezra is he's a little bit younger than me, but I was always a fan of watching Ezra Lusk because he was coming up. I became more of a fan as I started running 117. No really reason why I run it other than the fact that my birthday's January 17th. So it's a good reason to run it. But more super local would be Matt Shue. Matt Shue is a good friend of mine, and in fact, the guys probably 10 years ago started nicknaming me Factory, and Matt Shue is the one that came up with that name. So Matt helped me a lot when I was transitioning from racing in the woods and off-road into motocross. So a lot of the success I've had in motocross has come directly from the beginnings with Matt Shue, keeping me, getting my feet and my elbows up and doing all the things that as a wood rider I was kind of lazy to do. So I couldn't help moving locations when you asked me what my favorite bike is. I think I'm going to kind of move out of here just a little bit and let you see. This is my 1986 CR250. She has never been opened up. She's a sweetheart. It's got one of the reproductions that the guys at Pro Circuit made for that. I think that's the Rick Johnson specs from 1986. And then, of course, we've got the 1984, but sitting right behind it with a little custom cone pipe. Both those things are super fun to ride. Can't wait to go down to Daytona and race them again, but that is my favorite, the 1986 CR250. Thanks for asking. I'm glad you let me show it. So, my favorite rider of all time. Jeez. Well, I tell you, I've gotten into aviation these days, and always did like Bob Hanna. In fact, I got Bob Hanna sitting over there on the wall as I go up the stairwells. One of his old photos from Saddleback or Carlsbad or one of those places. But I always was a big fan of Bob Hanna. Became more of a fan of Bob Hanna as I gotten older and gotten into aviation, and I've really gotten into bush flying like Bob Hanna does. So I'd probably say Bob Hanna with a really close second to all the boys back in the day with Bailey and those guys riding the 86 CRs. That was a fun time, and I really liked watching those guys as well. Well, my highest level of competition, I'm now an off-road. I'm a 50 plus A rider. I think my motocross AMA ranking is B. I won a national championship in 2019. Almost had a perfect sweep in the 50 plus and the Sprint Enduro full gas Sprint Enduros, and that was a great year. The same year I also qualified and raced at Loretta Lynn's in the 50 plus class. Didn't have the best results at Loretta's, but I had a great time. And you know, when you're over 50, it's not so much about how fast you're going, but it's about the time, it's the fun, it's the memories, it's the fellowship, and the, you know, just seeing all your friends out there and getting to represent those folks that are back you. And yeah, so the highest level I've achieved would be Loretta Lynn's and winning an AMA national championship. So that's pretty good for me. So the next race is for me. Well, that's an interesting one. At the beginning of 2020, I started off the year and went down to the Ricky Carmichael Amateur Supercross, and I brought my vintage bikes and did the Daytona Vintage Series, which was just an amazing run event. Unfortunately, I had an accident and fractured my neck. So right after that, I was down at the Red Bull Day in the Dirt. We had done practice that day. Getting ready, got up the next morning, and the governor had shut down everything and sent everyone home and said we had to be out of there by 10. So loaded up all my stuff, and that was kind of the last race. I think I may have run one or two big series, may have run a couple of Matt Walker's races in 2019, but predominantly just spent letting my neck heal. So this year, kind of coming into it a little bit easier. I'm hoping to do as far as the next one, I think it's probably going to be the Carmichael Daytona, the Amateur Supercross. So, and as I answered in my question on which is my favorite bike, you'll see why I like going down there and doing that one. So yeah, probably first things first, let's go shred on these old bikes, which to me were cutting technology when I was a kid, and you too, Scott. Yeah, thanks, Scott. And lastly, I definitely want to thank the folks that have been helping me out for all these times. You know, as I said earlier, when you get a little bit older, it's not so much about winning and losing as it is about being a good, just being a good person, representing the brands that help you out. And as you can see, I mean, I'm a ambassador with FXR. Andy and Brad Behrens and those guys have done nothing but gone over and above for me anytime I ever need anything. And they've been great to helping me bring new young riders into the FXR family. So love the FXR family. I hope I ride with them for a long, long time. Joel and Kyle and Donnie over there at FMF, they've been with me from the beginning, from the off-road to the motocross. And, you know, no matter up years, good years and bad years, they're always right there, and they've become good friends. And I can't thank enough for the guys at FMF. Christina Denny at Roost MX, just can't thank you guys enough. My bikes are always looking good, hence the Matt telling me the nickname of Factory. Fuel Clothing, Fuel's always been there for me. I just can't thank these guys enough. Always got some rad socks to wear, and it's just a fun company I think it's the biggest little company in the world, as to say. But like to thank Viral. You guys have been great since the beginning, since the Ventacor, as we talked about earlier. And I continue to keep my sight and my vision clear and keeping me looking super fresh, and I really appreciate that. DT1, Micah, you guys have keeping the filters going and keeping my bars when I crash, which that happens, keeping me into some really good stuff, and I appreciate that. Let me think who else we have on there. Dunlop Tires, Rob Fox, you guys have always been nice to me and helping me out when I need some tires. And gosh, Lee, I can't, it's funny, you try to remember everybody, and a lot of times I can't remember where my phone or my wallet is. But Olin's for sure. The guys at Olin's have been great to me, and Tim Wilkie especially, he knows exactly how I like my bike set up. So I think I got most of everybody. I hope I didn't forget anybody, but every one of you guys has been important in my program. And at my age, I mean, is it a program or is it just something we continue to do for love of the sport? I'm going to say it's more the love of the sport than it's a program. But thanks again, Scott, for having me on, and I appreciate you asking me these questions. It was a lot of fun. Take care, and let's go viral.
Hey, Frank, thanks a lot for doing the quick hit with us today. Frank Mann out of Georgia. You definitely are factory, Frank, and we do appreciate having you on today. And by the way, your studio setup is so much nicer than ours. So let's talk about our dealer of the week. We've got right here, we have Moto Center. They're out of Mesa, Arizona. Full supply of the latest Viral brand goggles. Stop into Moto Center to get anything that you need when we're talking Viral brand goggles. Also want to say, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate you guys jumping on to the podcast, the videography thing we're doing, whatever this thing is, right here on our YouTube channel. You can also find us on different podcast platforms. We're working on growing that podcast. We actually ripped the sound from this thing and put it up on the podcast thing, so you can find episode 1 all the way through till this episode. They'll be loaded up a little bit later today on Wednesday. And wanted to give a shout out to Always Naked for their intro and their outro that was written specifically for the show. Want to thank Frank Mann again for being on. We want to thank Kenny Bartram. We want to thank our dealers and everyone that's watching. So again, thanks you guys. Don't forget to tune back in next week. Same bat time, same bat station, and we will see you next week.
Waking up 5 a.m. Gotta be at the track.